Wait, are we live?
Are we live?
Are we live? Are we?
I think we're live.
Are we live? Oh, wait, how would I know?
You're like, no, seriously, how do I know? I think we're live, so go ahead and get started.
Okay. Oh my God, you guys, I see it on the computer. Okay, wait, hold on. Somebody share this. Janice is so mad. You know, Janice, sometimes we just have to do things at the last minute, like I tell you guys. It's just the way it goes. Do you look mad? You look really pretty.
Thanks.
So I feel like that's nice. So let's play it again. Sorry, y'all. All right. So, hey, I just wanted to give an announcement out there. I don't know who's watching. I can't see anything. So go ahead and just put a comment if you are watching this, just so we have a little idea of what kind of people are out there on our live stream. Yeah. We're about to get into the show, but as we're getting warmed up, waiting on our guests, I feel like maybe some of them might be on that CP time. Crystal is in the audience. What up, Crystal? Yeah, bet you guys didn't know Black girls worked at Departments of Parks and Recs, but they do. Oh, sorry. I know. Oops. Was I not supposed to say that? Aurelia, congratulations on your PhD. Okay. Kim's in the hizzy. You guys,
Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. I'm so happy that you're here. All right, let me start off by saying that this episode of Off Color is being recorded live on Facebook, and we don't know what's going to happen due to poor preparation on my part. However, I still think it's going to be an enjoyable conversation. It'll be an authentic conversation. And you know what? We're back in the basement like where we always began, with Off Color. So I think that's pretty exciting. We do have a pretty exciting show. I said exciting 7 times because I get very nervous when I do live. That's why we like to pre-record it. So Janice can edit and so on and so forth.
There's no post this time.
There's no post. We're just going to put it up, or we're not going to put it up if some of our guests get to cry.
And we got a lot of guests.
Their reputations messed up. We do have a lot of guests. So let me tell you guys about some of the guests that we are going to be bringing out tonight. I'm not even going to say that, actually. Forget it. I'm not telling you anything. Okay?
First, I want you themselves.
Yeah. First, though, what you're going to do is you're going to share this live or start a watch party or whatever, especially if you live in Denver, Colorado. Our podcast goes out to the whole world, but this episode will have some sort of specific local things, but there's no reason you can't follow along, especially if you've been listening to the podcast in any capacity. All right. So that is, I also want to give a little bit of a content warning. This program will be discussing race, identity, white people. So if we say white people, just calm down. Okay. So anyway, that's what's going to be happening. And I do have a really incredible lineup. So I think we're just going to go ahead and
give the people a little brief on why we are here today.
Oh, yeah, I will. Okay, so let me see what happened was we set up a recording on Friday. Was it Friday or Thursday? I think it was last Thursday. Yeah. And we had the incredible, esteemed Dr. April Alexander with us. We had Jean-Claude Futrell, JC, Panama Sowito, a.k.a. The guy that is he here? Sorry.
JC's here. He's waiting. He's waiting to come in.
Okay.
He's in the waiting room.
Okay. So yes. So then everyone's here. Okay, cool. So we have our 3. So we had this. We wanted to do the podcast again because we let's keep it real. The audio got all messed up and we couldn't use it. And it was like a life lesson learned for us because we no longer are able to record at House of Pod because of the coronavirus. So we've been recording in my closet or whatever. So I just wanted to let you guys know that that's the business. That's the business end of this. And it was messed up. So I had these awesome guests. Dr. April Alexander, who was, woo! Okay. I also had Some guy. I think his name's Vince. Let me see. What's his name? Vince.
Yeah, and he disappeared again too. He's still having technical.
Come on, Vince. Okay, the truth is, you guys. Look, I'm gonna spill the tea. Vince messed up our podcast, and he's not here, so I'm just gonna keep saying that. So. So Vince, and then JC Futrell Panama Soweto, that's his stage name. He was also with us, and we had, I think it was an incredible conversation, and it was like 2 hours, and it was really, I think it was healing. There was a lot of great stuff that happened in the conversation, and you'll never see it, guys. And you know what? Some conversations are not meant for you. But this conversation is meant for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present the great Dr. April Alexander. Let her in. Oh. Yay! All right. Welcome, April. Welcome.
On the recording, you announced me as Queen of Denver, so I need that title back.
You see what I'm saying? You can't recreate it. There were so many gems in that conversation. We talked about emojis. We talked about Queen of Denver.
It got deep. But Dr. April, do you mind if I call you Dr. April instead of Dr. Alexander? It's just because we have a somewhat of a personal relationship, but I also like to honor people's titles. You know what I'm saying?
That is perfectly fine.
All right, Doctor. Now, I would like to say that we have big news to announce, but I'm going to wait until we bring on our other guest to announce your big news, because I think it's pretty exciting. Now, the next person I would like to bring on into the room, if he's here, is Jean-Claude Futrell.
Hey! Yo! What up?
JC, it's hard to see you. It's dark in there.
Listen.
Is it dark where I am?
I don't want to, JC. I don't want this to turn into this colorism situation, but
man.
Dark.
Wait,
Damn,
he might match his emoji though.
Man, you're getting back to the emoji conversation. Let me move to the part of the room where it's a lot brighter.
We're live.
Y'all racist.
Okay. So that's happening. So we wanted to catch up on this conversation. We did have Vince, but I think what happened to Vince? Does anyone know?
I don't know. Nobody knows.
All right, Vince.
Nobody has an idea at all.
All right. Anyway, Vince is a very thoughtful and interesting person, and I really enjoy his perspectives. And I am sad to not see him here because he's so old, he doesn't know how to work his technology. So let's move it right along. All right. So since we don't have Vince, I'm going to bring in a ringer. Just kidding. This person is a very special friend of mine and many people's, including my son, and he is also the brother of our beloved Dr. Gregory Diggs, rest in peace, and his name is Brian Diggs. What? Welcome back to Off Color, Brian. So, come on now.
Hello.
All right, it's good to see you, Brian.
Again. Today. I know. Well, I didn't really see you today. Today, Brian spent a significant amount of time watching my child over Facebook Messenger because mommy was having a birthday. Now, which is every day.
We were working.
That's true.
That's right.
We were getting this incredible setup here. All right, so here we go. Now, is there anyone else in the waiting room is the question.
There are a couple of people. Vince is in the waiting room again.
Should we let him in? I don't know.
Let the brother in. Let the brother in.
Let him in.
Let the brother in.
All right, we're going to let him in. All right, you're allowed to come in. Okay, we're going to let it. I tried to introduce you, but you're too old.
Ageism. I heard the ageism.
Listen, ageism is a serious topic, and I too am a victim of ageism, Vince. But anyway, here we go. Who's next?
We have one more guest in the waiting room.
This is so many people. I love myself right now. Okay, get in there. Bring them on in. All right. Who is that?
Kim Brewer.
Kim Brewer! Oh, I didn't get to it. I messed up her intro. Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the one, the only, the queen. Girl, no. It cannot. Is this how it's sounding? Nope. We're going to boot you out just like we did Vince. All right. Can we hear her?
I don't know.
All right.
Looks like she's driving. Are you driving?
Oh,
Jesus.
man.
You shouldn't Facebook Live and drive.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Hey, well, black women have to do it all.
No,
clever. So if somebody comes, if they can help me, if I'm stranded, y'all will know why. Because I am parked on the side of the highway.
Listen, you need to get off the phone and come back later because this is too stressful for me. I'm serious. I cannot handle it right now. So call back and see if you can get in later. We'll catch you up. All
okay.
Right.
I'm sorry. Did she say she was pulled on the side of the highway for your show?
She was just driving.
I don't think she was pulled over. I saw a lot of things going by that window.
Hey, Janice, snitches get stitches. Let's just leave it there. We don't know what we saw. Okay.
Oh man, do we really have to bring that part of the African American experience in here? Is like snitches get stitches? Really? That almost got Melo kicked out the NBA.
Okay. Well,
all right.
Rebecca Stella, she has street cred.
I do. A little bit. Okay, I don't.
Right.
I have no street cred. I grew up in Westchester County, outside of New York City, and I still claim New York from time to time, but I now live in Denver, and I am hard in Denver, right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Fine. All right, Janice, you're in charge.
And she drinks her white wine.
I know, right? All right, folks, what brings us all here today is the Mosley versus Central Park conversation. On Monday, it was announced
that the new name is Vanilla Latte. Vanilla Latte.
Basically.
It's not even a vanilla latte. It's not even as good as a vanilla latte, you know? But anyway, carry on. All right, here we go.
So we wanted to get input from all of our lovely guests on how they got involved with the name change movement, and also kind of what their thoughts are on how things played out.
So I think this is a great idea to just do it right here on the Facebook Live. If you guys have any questions or you want to call in or whatever, let us know in the comments. Someone should be monitoring those. And then I just want you guys to know I'm going to kind of moderate you guys, and then Janice's going to have to moderate me. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Let's hit it. Dr. April Alexander. Before we get into this Mosley versus Central Park discussion about the rename of the Denver airport, formerly after Ku Klux Klansman Ben Stapleton, I would like to talk about one thing. I think we should all just give the newest appointee to the Citizens Oversight Board of Denver County and City is Dr. April Alexander. Okay, and I think, that's real, though. That's real. So, April, could you talk just really briefly about what your role is going to be in this new position?
Yeah, what I hope is that the Citizen Oversight Board here in Denver, they oversee some policies, procedures, and the excessive force complaints that come through the Office of Independent Monitor. And the hope is that they hold that board accountable for the injustices that are happening within our system. So I was interested in this role as my background in forensic psychology, bringing some science and evidence to this. So hoping that we can start doing better policies around hiring and training of police. And then again, lastly, hold police officers accountable for their misbehavior when it does occur. Okay,
I like that. May I ask a question, or is it too crazy? May I? So what about if, nope, Janice looking at me. Never mind.
Go ahead. You do you. Okay. It's your show, man.
No, I can't. I wonder about the because to me, I'm hiring. I'm get rid of all of them, start over, redefine what policing is, what safety is, and just and then people can reapply, right? No. If they're
well,
good.
I think that's the conversations we hope to have. I want to bring more community into these conversations and define what is safety, what is public safety, when are opportunities when there shouldn't be police called to certain calls that are not kind of crisis or anything like that. Let's have mental health be involved in those calls. So I'm hoping in my role to bring in that perspective and let's reform
and
or revamp altogether, as you were saying.
I have a question. When do I get to come down and talk at the meeting for the Citizens Oversight Board? Like, is that a thing I can do? Or
yeah, the meetings are the first and third Fridays, and they are open for public comment. So again, this just happened today, so I'll loop you all in on next steps.
Isn't this Friday the first Friday?
Right.
Is there going to be a meeting?
I think so.
Will it be accessible to us digitally for those of us who are terrified of the coronavirus and still remember we're in a pandemic?
I believe they are online right now, so I'll make sure to get that to y'all.
Oh, well, then I'll see you Friday. All right, fantastic. Sorry, that was a segue, but what can you do? Next. All right. So April, I'm just really glad and excited that you had that opportunity. All right.
Thank you.
So the other people that are here on this call right now are part of people who feel some kind of way about having a neighborhood named after a Klansman. So I would like to go ahead and ask Vince Bowen to just give us a brief overview of what Black Lives Matter 5280 did in regards to the Stapleton name.
Well, as I think as you already alluded, Dr. April Alexander and I are part of BLM 5280. Everyone should know what that means. For those outside of Denver, that's the elevation of Denver, the Mile High City. And 5 years ago, 2015, a group of folks, some who had been working in Stapleton, some who had been living there within BLM 5280, started talking about the long history. Juju Nkrumah, others who had stood up against the name ever since the FAA decommissioned the airport and turned it over to the city of Denver. Actually, there were folks who, even before it was an airport, were against the name as well. So one of the myths that's been going around is that, hey, this aired about Stapleton being a bad guy after the fact. When he was elected, folks knew that he was a Klansman, member of a terrorist organization, anti-constitutional, etc. So if we want to pick folks, we just pick anti-constitutional terrorists, and we'll probably be okay with people being named after stuff. So anyway, we recognized that there had been a transfer of wealth. The Green Book, wonderful document put together in the early 90s, stated that the new neighborhood should reflect the surrounding neighborhoods, Park Hill, Montbello, and Green Valley Ranch, in terms of diversity, principally ethnic, all majority people of color, age, and education. They talked about certainly the open spaces and the wonderful park. And they really put together a beautiful vision of a new urbanist community that was going to be an extension of the surrounding community. And what we got through the developers and through the lack of oversight by the city is a city that was not only whiter than the surrounding areas, it was whiter than Denver, it was whiter than Colorado. That takes a lot of work. All right.
Wakanda for white people.
Exactly. So here we were getting ready to continue that legacy with the name of a person who represented that very thought of segregationist housing, which is endemic in the American political system. Read Richard Rothstein's Color of Money. This stuff is not unintentional. It's very intentional. And so we said, hey, we want to talk about, one, the fact that Stapleton stood for all of these things, and two, that there has been a transfer of wealth. There are not enough affordable housing units. There are not enough apartments. There's enough access to the facilities. And all of the dreams of the Green Book have not been realized by this development. So we started the hashtag Change the Name. Folks, your dad, Dr. Gregory Digg, a bunch of folks started and followed on what we started with the Rename Stapleton effort. We went around back to 2015 with flyers, made up 1,000 flyers and put them on porches, let people know, did you know that your neighborhood was named after Klansman number 1128? And then from there, The Rename Stapleton group did a wonderful job of getting the word out, doing talks, etc. Rebecca, you've been very active up until JC and other folks being active in the rename process to take us to where we are today.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and give our shout out to Rename Stapleton. And the truth is, you guys, Kim Brewer was our Rename the Stapleton person.
But yes, exactly.
I know. So we're waiting. I hope she'll maybe can come back in. I don't know exactly what's going to happen with that, but she did call in from her car, and I couldn't. It wasn't going to work. But Kimmy Cakes, if you're listening, come on, get in here. And if anyone else has questions or concerns or comments, drop them in. We're going to go till about 9:00. So that's just to give everybody like an idea. It's like a call-in radio show. So Vince, I liked your description of everything that had happened. I thought I heard you call Greg Diggs Brian's dad. Did you say that?
Did I say something incorrectly?
That's his brother, and
oh, okay.
And I don't know why. I think that's really funny.
I thought his son was here. His son is also an incredible
His son is
actor.
here.
Yeah.
His son is here. His son was on our the first season of Off Color. I think he was on like our maybe episode 5 or 6, but it's a great episode, to listen to.
It's probably one of the moments when my microphone and headphones weren't working. Old man that I am.
Yeah, I am not a fan of your headphones. But anyway, okay.
I apologize, brother.
It's okay. I know it's hard for a black man. I get it. Blah blah blah. Okay, just kidding. Sorry.
But let me just point out one other thing. Speaking of black men, I'm sure that there have been many black men involved in this, but I think what we definitely need to see and understand is that this has been a long and well-held struggle by black women who we know, let's face it, they raised America literally, and they are continuing to act as what I call accountability advocates, trying to get us to live up to the letter of the words that we hold so near and dear. And they've done a wonderful job, and it's great to be part of BLM 5280 that was part of that as well, and to be part of this group here and Rename Stapleton and so forth.
Yeah, I think that the reason it's so personal to me is because I live here, right? And I wanted them to change the name, and I also looked at the changing of the name as like an opportunity to do something. And so when I talk about the name change and us voting to get a new name, I mean, there's a whole other story, and I like kind of don't feel like telling it right now. So let me see.
You were certainly not quiet about this topic by any means, and we actually discussed it at length in season 3, episode 3. I think it was The Myth of Malicious Intent, part 1. So if you want a little bit more background on this story, go back and check out that podcast. But yeah, this is kind of Rebecca's thing. She's
just a little thing. So when we were able to start like voting for names, that is how I re-met JC. So JC, could you talk to us a little bit about your involvement in the rename before we get into the part where I start calling everybody racist and stuff? So you go ahead and just tell us a little bit about your involvement in the rename effort.
Yeah, sure. I've been in Denver for a long time, over 30 years, and being a kid coming to Denver, I remember some of the early conversations being about the Stapleton Airport being named after a Klansman. And I remember as being a kid, like it really sticking in my head because I came from back east and not really sure what, our family had gotten us into moving out here. And when I say family, we were brought out here by my grandparents, John and Edna Mosley. And the Mosleys here in Denver have a storied history, a legacy that dates back over 100 years. The first Mosleys came during the Silver Rush, before the turn of the century, and so what's really interesting about how I got pulled into this was through the renaming discussion, and on one of the Facebook groups, a resident of Stapleton had posted that Mosley would be a good name to rename the Stapleton neighborhood. And it got some traction on this Facebook post. I think this particular post had over 100 comments, whole bunch of likes, people going back and forth and talking about the Mosley name and who are Mosleys and so on and so forth. But then another Stapleton resident, her name is Rebecca Stark, took a screenshot of this particular conversation that was happening and sent it to me because she knew that I was part of the Mosley family and that it would be important for the Mosleys to know that our name was being in this discussion. And so I thought it was incredible. I immediately took it back to the elders of the Mosley clan, those of us that are still remaining. My grandparents, my grandmother died in 2014, and my grandfather not more than a year after, 2015. He couldn't live without her. They were together over 75 years. And so the Mosley clan gave me the thumbs up to go ahead and get in this fight if I was willing to pick it up. They were not. Which was understandably so, especially in this moment. And so my immediate family, my wife and my kids, we started a campaign to change the neighborhood formerly known as Stapleton, now known as Central Park, to Mosley Park. And we built this amazing cohort of artists and activists and neighbors, and all kinds of people came together and rallied around this campaign that we ran. And we faced some challenges. We faced some overt racism and some very obvious overt racism throughout this process. We also built a coalition of people that I think are ready for change, not just in symbolism work for Stapleton, but also in some very systemic work in the neighborhood when it comes to inequities, which I'd love to talk about a little bit later. But that's how I got pulled in to this issue that is a very serious one.
And how long ago did you start that campaign for Mosley Park?
That was a month. We jumped in almost immediately after that post was sent. Yeah, it was almost immediately. I built a website. I built a GoFundMe. I built a Change.org. I built a Facebook group all in the same evening so that we could jump right.
Yeah, but what year was that?
We're talking about 2020, the year of COVID.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Yes.
But it's wild, right, that we had this super fast. Oh, sorry. Why was Mosley such a good choice?
Mosley.
Yeah,
sorry.
You mentioned the post by that particular individual, but when we were recording last time on Thursday, the content that went missing, you outlined all the wonderful things that made Mosley such an incredible choice, and I just want you to share those with the audience.
Yeah, all the secret sauce. Yeah, so what I found really interesting in the renaming posts were that people, residents, neighbors in Stapleton were really looking for a few things to hit their benchmarks for what a name would look like for renaming their neighborhood. They wanted to touch on aviation and the history of the airport itself. They wanted something that reflected Denver specifically. And then some people were talking about some kind of cultural reference, something that would show a statement as the opposition to having a Klansman, a terrorist name. Why don't we just call the Klan what they are? Because we say the Klan and it doesn't stick with people. It doesn't stick with people. The Klan, they are a terrorist organization. They have terrorized people of color in this country since their inception. And so we really need to talk about that, because I think that what's been missing in this conversation is white residents not understanding the outrage to some of us in having a neighborhood named after a card-carrying Klansman. But anyways, back to the Mosley.
Use the terms. We're going to use the terms.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So when we get back to the Mosleys, my grandparents specifically had hit all of those check marks exquisitely. The perfect check marks. My grandfather, retired Lieutenant Colonel John W. Mosley, he was born and raised here in Denver, 1921, right on 24th and Marion, in now what is the playground for Whittier, ECE. My grandfather went to Whittier. My grandfather went to Cole. My grandfather went to Manual, where he was an undefeated wrestler, valedictorian. Then he went to go to CSU, where he became the first lettered black athlete at CSU as a football player. He actually went up there with Mr. Cousins. I don't know if you guys know the Cousins family. Of course, if you're listening, property owners in 5 Points. They bought a Model T Ford together and drove up to CSU and forced them to let them enroll, which was incredible. And so he then went on to get his private pilot's license and wanted to fly for this country. So he joined the Tuskegee Airmen, but it was through a lot of trial and tribulation. He had to write several letters. The community had to write letters on his behalf. But he finally got in. And so my grandfather was a Tuskegee Airman, so it hits the aviation point to the conversation. When it comes to Denver, like I said, the Mosley family has been in Denver for over 100 years. And then when it comes to people of color who have contributed to the fabric of this great city, my grandmother herself was the first elected official of color to the Aurora City Council. She also started a bank called the Colorado Women's Bank, which then grew into Co-Biz Bank. And she just was, some people's version of the perfect person. She was my perfect person. She never had a bad word for anyone. She opened her door to everyone. And it was just an amazing human being outside of being a very polished politician at the same time. So it just hit all the check marks. The Mosley name hit all the check marks for what was being asked of to rename Stapleton. And the community chose to go with all those check marks, ironically.
Well.
May I speak very quickly as someone who is on the advisory board?
What? No, it sounds terrible. Is everyone just pretending like Vince doesn't sound terrible or what?
I wasn't pretending.
I sound
it's
terrible.
Like
I sound more terrible than I did.
Yeah, your signal's not great.
Your signal's bad. Do you have like some? Look, I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm like, what kind of phone?
You got to start talking. You got to start talking. I know.
Digital divide.
Okay, here we go.
I'm on Wi-Fi.
It's a little better.
I mean,
I'm so sorry.
So we're.
I'm going to try a headset switch, but very quickly. 3 criteria: unique, business friendly, and inspirational. And Mosley hit those all exquisitely. It's 2 syllables, and Mosley Park, obviously 3. And it's unique. I'm not certain the URL for Central Park just might not be available, but we're not trying to.
Sorry.
And then third, it was supposed to be inspirational. And just like we were saying, these folks, the Mosleys, have been accountability partners trying to help us live and be our better selves throughout their lives. So all of those things in check. So I'm just affirming what you're saying, Jason. And I
appreciate that, brother.
Clearly understood in the committee as well.
But we have to say that was inspirational for people of color. It wasn't inspirational for white folk. As the white folk on these committees, that wasn't inspirational for them. Clearly, as we can see by the name. But even wanting to change the name was problematic.
Yeah, and the ironic part about this too is that our name, our family name, Mosley, was brought to us, in this instance by a white resident of Stapleton, and I got to give a shout out to Andrew Reed. Like, he really thought that it hit all of his check marks, and he was the one that suggested it. And so I was inspired by him, and just by going through the rest of the process and seeing how the conversations turned so overtly racist and negative and discriminatory and just filled with allegations and lies and innuendo and all this other stuff. It just was really interesting seeing that there is a very split community in Stapleton, a very progressive community on one side that is ready for change and wants their neighborhood to be very diverse. But then there's this underbelly. There's this other side of Stapleton that's very racist and very, let's start secret Facebook groups to start talking about all our racist things to ourselves, and and it's very real. And Rebecca,
I know.
Talk to these people about this.
I know about my neighbors. I know about my neighbors. So someone should probably share this with them. And then this is when I always get in trouble because that's what it felt like when we chose the name, right? It felt like well, if it can't be named after a Klansman, then it can't be named after anyone.
Well, even before that, even before getting to the name change, just agreeing to remove the name was, but we voted. We all voted, so we shouldn't have to change the name because we voted.
Yeah, that part was, that was also part of why I would never shut up about it, right? So it was like, they kept saying, we can't change the name because of this. And then we had this bold beep vote, right, where only property owners could vote. It was like, it was like a perfect example, honestly, of like voter suppression. And just, it was incredible, really. And I used that as my shipments test for the 2020 elections for November. I was like, well, if the neighbors decide to keep the name, then we're going to have Donald Trump for 4 more years. That is what I said. Then with this iteration, with Tay Anderson going on CNN, and thank God, like all of the groundwork was already laid there, right? So we already had like people who were behind this. As Kim Brewer had mentioned, there were like 1,200 people who voted to change the name. So we had all of these people that were interested. This is how we like do.
Speaking of Kim, she's here if you want to add her.
I do, but I can hear myself on something. So
yeah, I'm not sure whose it is, but
who doesn't have their headphones on?
I don't know. Let's get Kim in this conversation, though.
All right, Kimmy Cakes, I just said your name. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present the greatest, the goddess, the queeness, the activist. Okay, sorry, April, you're also the queen, okay? All right, and I present Kim Brewer. Kimmy. Woo! All right, Kim, we just mentioned.
Baby. Finish your thought. Because
you know I can't finish a thought. I got mental health problems.
I should know better than to
You're supposed to moderate me, Janice.
I was trying.
She did. Kim is in the house. Come on, Kim.
Kim is in the house. You mentioned Kim. I brought Kim in the house.
All right. So Kim, I was just saying, I was quoting you or paraphrasing you, saying that even though the neighborhood, we didn't win that first vote, it was useful because you had all of these people, right, that you had connected with who were something. Hit
it. Well, with that intro, I can't screw it up. I think what was poignant for me is, like has already been said, the neighborhood is very divided. You have those people who get it, who I really believe honestly get it. And then you have those people who are still lost in oblivion. And that is what makes this such a bittersweet victory. It's a victory in that there were so many elders who came before us, who started this fight long before we ever got here. You know, yes, absolutely, Dr. Diggs, I am humbled to have been part of an organization that he poured his blood, sweat, and tears into. I look at Juju Nkrumah. I look at Mary Watson. I look at countless numbers of folks who, like the Mosleys, have been here doing this work for generations. And so for them, I celebrate. For them, I bow humbly at their feet and say thank you. And then on the other hand, I say now, there's the rest of the work to be done. Because obviously, if you had the opportunity to get this right and you chose to go middle of the road, that tells me that there is a significant amount of work still to be done. And I'm going to be honest, I think quite candidly, part of the aversion to accepting the Mosley name was the possibility that we might now have a Black family that had a monopoly on a trademark that could have generated revenue. That was not the goal. I do not believe for a second that that was the goal. But the very possibility that that was a goal, or the very possibility that that was even likely, I think, personally speaking, is what drove people to the middle of the road, to the vanilla, to the neutral, to the let's not name it after anybody. Yeah. That the fact that, you know, I was with Brother Jeff earlier today and we were clowning, but the truth of the matter is, if it can't be my name, if it can't be the person I want to honor, then we're not going to honor anybody. We just not.
But even if they did that, why is middle of the road an English word and not a Mexican word or a Native American word? Why is it an English word?
And
if
I
you didn't want to do somebody's name.
You make a very good point, because they had Native American options as well. The advisory committee of the SUN, the neighborhood organization that managed the process, they had Native American representation on the advisory committee. They had the benefit of names that had been generated in this process before ground was ever broken on this development. Our brothers and sisters had reached out broadly to the entire community and brought in a whole list of names. There were over 200 names that had true, authentic representation. And somehow we ended up with this.
Yeah, I actually know someone, I didn't realize that they were within the voting area of the Central Park renaming voting area, but she's actually half Black, and I talked to her after the vote, after the decision was announced, and she said that she was just trying to go as neutral as possible. And that struck me as a little odd for so many reasons.
Don't say it's because she's half Black. Don't say it.
No, I don't. If anything, it was surprising because she's half Black, but it was, I guess, to hear her say that, and she also mentioned that, like, oh yeah, if it was Mosley, that would have been great too. But I just felt like it was almost a responsibility to go as neutral as possible.
Alert, danger.
Exactly. And after our conversation that we had on Thursday, which I wish so badly all of you could have heard, it blew my mind to hear her say that. So why is neutral not okay? And I know the answer to this. You all know the answer to this. But I think the audience needs a little bit of an explanation as to, like, well, what's so bad about neutral?
Nothing's bad about neutral, but why is neutral English? In a state called Colorado that was once Native American, why is English neutral? That's the problem.
Because it's not. Because it's white supremacy.
You said what I was thinking.
Well, if you don't mind,
also known as.
And I would say, yeah, neutral is a problem.
Yeah, it is a problem. I wouldn't mind fielding that one, but
go for it, JC.
No, please. You go, JC.
Well, I mean, like my whole thing about this was going to be the issue from the beginning, which is that instead of being held accountable for multiple decisions, including those that have supported white supremacy and racism within the neighborhood formerly known as Stapleton, that the neighborhood would try to get out of some responsibility here by staying neutral. And this is where neutral is problematic. In a state where we have now recognized, finally, racism as a global pandemic, there is only one way to fight it. And that is by being an active participant in its dissemination, in its destruction. So if you are not actively fighting against racism, then you are in effect supporting it if you come from a place of privilege. If you come from a place of privilege in this country, if you have ever benefited financially, academically, socially, spiritually, emotionally, in any which way, shape, or form in this country based on the premise of its foundation, which is white male land-owning supremacy, if you remain silent and neutral during times when people are demanding reparations, are demanding to be seen, demanding to be heard, demanding just equal protection under the law. How about that? How about just equal protection under the law? How about we don't want more than you? How about just stop killing us? How about that? When we are demanding that right now, to have people in privilege who have the power to help enforce such policies to protect their fellow neighbors, brothers and sisters, to say we are going to remain neutral, even symbolically, is a failure.
But
it is a failure in social justice. It is a failure in social justice.
That you just mentioned is the neutral. The white supremacist stuff, that's not neutral. Central Park isn't really. Why is that neutral? That's not neutral.
No, not at all. If anything, Central Park is voted when we start talking about Seneca Village.
Exactly. So I'm saying go with neutral, and neutral doesn't have to be somebody's name, but neutral can be a Mexican name since Colorado once was part of Mexico.
Spanish is the language of the colonizers.
We can go with a Native American name since that's neutral. Why is the Native American name not neutral? That's what I'm saying. So getting rid of white supremacy is neutral, or it should be. That's what I'm saying.
That's the challenge. It's not recognized as neutral.
Right.
You bring out a very valid point.
Right.
Even when you have people who are striving for what they call neutrality, they are still buying into supremacy because supremacy is so inculcated that it is what's considered neutral. I'll give another classic example. We are being told right now, as people are marching through the streets fighting for justice, for humanity, that's extreme. Bill Barr has called the reaction extreme. Why is that extreme? What would you be feeling if it was your child? What would you be doing if it was you? The bottom line is, even what is considered neutral is not neutral because it is so rooted in what is racist.
Thank you. Yeah, if I can just add on to that, because that was so eloquently stated. I just
well said.
It's so well said. I think that one thing to really drive that home is if there are people screaming for equality, but then on the other end, other people are screaming for neutrality to not get in it. They are in effect supporting what is keeping those other people oppressed. It is that simple. It is that simple. If we are saying, set us free, quit treating us in this dehumanizing manner in all ways. If we are screaming for that, but then the people who have the opportunity to make that change say, nah, we're not going to get in that fight.
Yeah, it was really.
That is telling. That's all I wanted to say.
I wanted to interrupt because I am bad at social cues right now. Because you guys are so small in my little thing. But no, because I was thinking when you were saying that, like I'd like to talk to my psychologist, Dr. April. I was very hurt by what happened, actually. And I have kind of a reputation in the neighborhood as being a rabble rouser. I blew up all the Facebook groups with my, you're all racist posts and stuff like that. But like, I don't think people were really understanding that I was hurt by it. And I feel like I do have this mentality of you're either with me or against me, right? But in this case, to me, I feel like there is no middle ground. Like you are either, yeah.
Which parts were you hurt by? Because it has to be multiple. It can't just be one thing.
Thank you, Brian. But it was along the lines of the first time the vote hurt me the first time, even though I expected it, right? So I expected it, but I was still like, damn, Then the second time I was also like, damn, Then the third time we were voting on this name, and I thought, you know what? Maybe. Oh my God. Like JC got me like feeling full of hope and stuff because I was over here like these old racist people ain't never gonna name the neighborhood after a Black person, and everyone was like, shh, Rebecca, no, I love it, I'm Team Mosley. I got, we had yard signs, all this stuff, so I got a little bit of hope in the old heart. And so when I saw that it didn't win, which I knew it wouldn't, unfortunately, because I know my neighbors. They keep saying I don't know them, but I know them. I know them. And that was hurtful. And then following that, someone wrote a comment, in a group and said, was upset because my comment was, well, you all disappointed me again, right? That was my comment. And she was like, I am so hurt by this just because people who didn't want to name it after a person and you're like calling us racists or whatever.
Well, I'm thinking about the current context. So right now, the best-selling books are White Fragility, How to Be Anti-Racist. And people aren't applying what they're reading in these book clubs to real life. So Central Park is the not racist choice. The anti-racist choice would have been Mosley, would have been Justina Ford, would have been, again, the Lakota names that we saw on that list. But people aren't making that connection. Again, this conversation that you all are having, which is really rich on neutrality and what does that mean, or I don't want to rock the boat. Well, by not rocking the boat, by not making a choice that would have been restorative, which would have been healing, which would have been marked with reconciliation in some ways, you chose not to do. And I think that's where the disappointment's coming through for all of us. It's just, especially right now, we're just getting hit with repeated racial stress. And this was just another marker of, man, you had the opportunity, you had all these names, you had the opportunity right there to make some
And it might seem like a small thing, but it's not a small thing, right?
But that's why it's not a small thing. And so the white people that I saw on the Sun board, because all of a sudden I'm starting to be in these committee meetings, and I'm in Maryland right now, but I'm in the meetings. Most of the white people that I saw on these committees, they don't want to have to go into a store that is named after a Black person and be reminded every time they walk into the store of the accomplishments of a Black person or any person of color or a woman, or walk into a school and have to be reminded of the accomplishments of a woman or a person of color.
Yeah,
because that's oppressive and offensive to them. They don't want to experience that themselves. So they're going with something that's easy, that they don't have to think about when they walk in. Okay, Central Park, that sounds nice and pretty.
Not if you know anything about Central Park in New York. Don't get me. Seneca Nation? What? Isn't it Seneca Village? Who was telling me about the Seneca Village? Who was it?
JC hit it.
I mean, I think all of us, but yeah, but Seneca Village, like long story short, 1820s, I think it was 1824 when it was first established. Freed slaves just had land, 5 acres of land in the middle of Manhattan, right? And they flourished. They were landowners. They had businesses. It was fantastic up until New York decided to take that area back. And they used every tactic you could possibly think of. They called the residents there thieves, said that they were stealing food, that they were all criminals. And they forcefully took that land back to create what we now know as Central Park, which is greatly expanded from those 5 acres that Seneca Village was. But, it just goes back to, the whole idea of redlining and gentrification and everything else. Black people were forced into these really terrible places, to live in urban areas. We make those areas cool with our culture, but the prices are low for housing and things because of, taxes and stuff like that. Then the developers come in and take that land back from us, but they keep the culture. They keep all the cool stuff, but they take the property away. It's age-old tale. It just happens over and over again. And I know we're short on time, but I did want to kind of throw this quote out because we threw that quote out on this last conversation that we had on the Zoom call. And that was not long after or long before this name change happened. The 45th, resident of the White House, I won't call him president because he didn't earn it, put this out on Twitter. I am happy to inform all of the people living their suburban lifestyle dream that you will no longer be bothered or financially hurt by having low-income housing built in your neighborhood. And then Stapleton decided to stay neutral. And I'll leave you with that.
And can I follow on to that? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Who was that?
No, Vince. I was just going to say I'm so glad you brought that up because what you're talking about, what we're having a conversation about right now, is still happening. Protests are riots. People are extreme. Suburbanites need to be protected. Policing is about public safety. No, public safety is about public safety. And we can get rid of the notion of policing if we wanted to. We can get rid of the notion of the handout. Reparations is not about a handout. It's about a paycheck. We have laws in this country that says if I work for you, you have to pay me. All I want is my paycheck. I came to your dad for it. He didn't pay me. I came to your son for it. He didn't pay me. I came to your grandson for it. He didn't pay me. I just want my check. I just want my money. I'm sorry, Brother Vince. I cut you off. I apologize.
No, that's fire. That's truth. And I just say, look, the suburban talk, the theft, these are all really cogent comments. And I mean, I always say, what is the enduring role of African Americans, Black people in America? The answer is that we represent luxury by our absence, right? Mm-hmm. If you want to be in a luxury neighborhood, you go where there's no Black people. You want to be in a high quality school, you go where there's no Black people. Country clubs, all of that. So, and it's a hustle. It's a complete hustle. So if you read Rothstein's book, you'll see that this was an economic hustle to get people who were now coming out of post-World War II, getting the GI Bill, getting the Federal Home Loan Agency, all offered to white people. And the idea was to create wealth by creating this ideal of the suburbs. And the way that you do that is you remove Black people. So that comment, Mosley sounds hood, is foundational in American thought, is that Black equals negative, white equals right. And the only reason they do that is because if you think that, then you as a white person will not think about the person above you who is oppressing you and actually cleaning your pockets. LBJ said it. You tell the poorest white man that he's better than a Black man, not only will he open his pockets for you, not only will he let you pick his pockets, he'll open them and let you clean them out. That's what's going on here. And it's actually going on in Stapleton. And Black Lives Matter is going to have some more comments about how economically everyone's being exploited in Stapleton on the backs of Black and brown folks.
I didn't know Black people came up with the name Mosley.
It's a slave name.
Which means, why does it sound good? What I'm saying is, it didn't come from slaves, didn't make that name up.
Oh, brother. Yeah, the person who made that comment, by the way, because it's cool. It's cool for me to like just talk now, right? Because like I ain't got to watch my words because they already chose the name Central Park or whatever.
Right.
Oh, okay, all right. So there was all kinds of racist comments that were going on these Facebook groups and pages and stuff. And this one particular person put up, some kind of comment that said Mosley sounds hood. Now, first of all, they misspelled Mosley in the first place, which you know what I'm saying? If I ain't got time to
Trailer Park.
I don't have time to argue with racists. I don't have time to argue with racists on the basic stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like on the basic stuff. But like if this particular person knew anything about the Mosleys, first and foremost, they would have known that my grandparents died millionaires, that they invested money and their time back into their communities, right? To build up communities, all communities in Denver. And that my grandmother, wouldn't even understand what hood means, to be honest. You know, she really cared about everybody. And so the types of racist comments that were coming out, there were other comments on these Facebook pages too. And if you're from Stapleton and you're listening to this right now, you should know what your neighbors are saying because it's real. They were saying that, if we change the neighborhood to Mosley, the property value would go down. That was a real comment. Mm-hmm. That was a real comment by grown folks from that neighborhood. Now Central Park. And so I really do think that, even before even getting to that, you know what people call the King Soopers there on Quebec. What do they call that King Soopers?
Ghetto King. Wow.
Yeah, they call that the Ghetto Soopers, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So I mean, the kind of comments and the kind of things that are said when we're talking about the work of neutrality or fighting against neutrality and being anti-racist, when they are using words that aren't neutral. You see where I'm going with this? Mm-hmm. That there is a fight for the language that we use, and I appreciate the brother talking about this too. There's a fight for the language that we use because it affects us every day. Every day.
That's why names matter. Symbols speak. You want to know what's in a name? You really want to know what's in a name? Call me out my name, and you'll know what's in a name. Call the right person out of their name. Brother Vince, you said it. Trailer park, trailer trash. Call somebody out of their name and then ask me what's in a name.
Yeah. So y'all, it's 9:00. So this was just a little taste for those of you new to Off Color of the high caliber of guests I could get at the last minute. So good job to me. But I do feel like I want to do some closing thoughts. People were asking a couple of questions in the comments. I don't know if we got to them. But this is an ongoing conversation. So I would like to add that too. This is an ongoing conversation. And one thing I will say on my part for it is if they had voted for Mosley, I would have left them alone for a little while. But since they decided they couldn't do it, and I know a lot of people were like, no, Rebecca, let's just, I'm like, no. Because I can't do it. I can't let it slide. I can't let one thing slide anymore because I feel like that is what we've been doing for hundreds of years, right? And it's like, no, I'm not going to let it slide. And if it upsets you so much that your neighbor thinks you're a racist, then stop being a racist. Stop doing racist stuff. Stop upholding white supremacy. Okay? And if you're really curious and you have questions, there's this thing called Google. I'm telling you, you can type in and get all kinds of answers. You don't have to ask your only Black friend.
Right on.
Closing
Stacey,
thoughts?
you just put something in the chat. Put the Zoom out. What was that?
Well, our initial conversation was, on the Zoom call with some other, technology. That the audio got messed up on, but the Zoom call itself should be all right, right? Like, why don't we just release the Zoom call?
No.
Release the Zoom call.
No.
Release the Zoom. Release the Zoom.
There was only 40 minutes of the 2-hour conversation when I downloaded the Zoom call.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's why we're not releasing the Zoom call.
The lost file.
It's okay, though.
Redacted? You redacted the Zoom call?
Oh, it
There's
just
silence
stopped
in our
recording.
I mean, it happens, These things happen. But what I think what I'm really excited about, though, right now is this, for me, like on the personal note, all of us been going through hell in the pandemic and people dying and our friends and our family and our loved ones in schools and all this stuff. Like, it takes a lot for me to bring back Off Color. I'm really trying. So I'm hoping that this will continue to be a space for people to have these kinds of conversations, and that we can kind of press on with it, press on with the work. And if anybody does anything racist in Stapleton and I see it, you'll hear about it. Okay? Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up. Who's got their closing thoughts?
Yeah, I got a closing thought. I'll jump in. We're not done with the neighborhood formerly known as Stapleton yet. So because of this and the cohort that we have created through this phenomenon, I've been put in contact with several different schools about bringing social justice art, specifically socially engaged art, to the student body. So that young people can talk about these issues, what's upsetting them through art, and be able to work through that. That's my job at Redline Contemporary Art Center, and so I'm already starting more work in Stapleton based on this.
Stop
so I do want to.
That it's Central Park now. Just call it
Central Park. So I want to shout out the neighbors and the coalition that we built. Shout out Team Mosley. Thank you so much for your support. We are not done with y'all yet. All right. I'm glad to hear that. Mm-hmm. All right, cool. Does anybody else have anything they want to add?
I think same. I think we're not done yet. We're trying to hit this from all sides of what's kind of going on in our city and in our country. they keep trying to silence us, whether it's gassing us at protests, gassing us at violin vigils, or, trying to run us over, or not naming the city Mosley. They're trying to silence us, and we need to take this as another example of we're not going to put up with it. So, yeah, we're not done yet.
And rename is not going away. Just because we got the name changed does not mean we're going to sit down and leave people alone and let them be happy. The fact that they missed this opportunity makes it more obvious than ever that we need to be on our job, and so we are. I want to say a personal thank you, though, to Brother JC, because I am a product of your grandparents. Your grandmother, the Honorable Edna Mosley, took me under her wing at 18 years old, and I had the privilege of standing on the floor of the House of Representatives right here in Colorado while she was gracious enough to acknowledge me as a young person in the resolution that I still keep in a book in my mama's house. So understand that. Your uncle, John Mosley, before he passed, told my mother, who worked in King Troopers with him, Peggy, don't stay here and die on this job. 2 weeks later, she retired from that job. And it was by the grace of God that she did it, because I have her still with me. Brother John is gone, but I still have my mom. So I owe you a debt of gratitude. I owe the elders who fought in this community a debt of gratitude. And that's why the fight doesn't end with us, because it didn't start with us.
I can't tell you what that means to me. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. That was beautiful, y'all. I'm not sorry. I saw a comment and it made me laugh. Crystal. I'm not crying. You're crying. No, it's beautiful. You guys, I love you. I love each and every one of you. To anyone out there who is watching, to our family, we'll probably try to do this whenever we feel like it, because I just do what I feel like doing. But if you want to be caught up to this, you may want to consider becoming a Patreon for Tan Tigress. I have memberships as low as $1 a month. And but it'll always, the content will put it out for you. But if you want to make sure, or follow us on the Facebook Off Color podcast page or Twitter Off Color Pod. Anything else, Janice? Do I need to wrap up?
Yeah, I think that's going to be it for this evening.
Oh, shit. All right, well, don't let your beard wiggle on your microphone. Hold on.
Defund Aurora Police Department.
Right on.
Yeah, man. Aurora Police Department, listen. Well, I don't even know what to do with them at all. Like, honestly, that is a situation where I seriously think you have to fire every single person, and then you can hire back that black lady that helped that one time we saw her. Like, that lady, she's okay. She could work with you, but the rest of them, sorry, nope.
I'm sure we'll be having many more conversations about the efforts for defunding the police and how we can readdress concerns for our communities moving forward. So make sure you like and subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. Check out all of our content. Up to this point, we've had some really amazing conversations, and I just want to let everyone here know that I am so grateful that we were able to have you all on Off Color.
Thank you all.
And
support independent journalism. You all are vitally important.
Thank you, Tan Tigress, for doing what you do.
Great. I got it.
All right. I'm going to do a screenshot real quick.
This theme song was written by James Meekum, my previous producer that I think about a lot, but I like Janice of European descent as well. Bye.
All right, y'all. We out.
Bye. Okay.